Carl Edwards is locked in and ready to go. Hi, I'm Amber Wilson, and this is the BFGoodrich NASCAR report on CBSSports.com. In 2005, Carl Edwards broke onto the Nextel Cup scene, finishing third in the final standings in his rookie season. But there was plenty of disappointment in 06 as his team failed to make last year's chase for the championship. This year, Edwards has been quietly effective, though, as he's managed to sit in the middle of the top 10 in points, all the while winning just one race, the Citizens Bank 400 at Michigan. On Saturday, Edwards decided to get a little loud by taking his Office Depot 4 to victory lane, and with 2 races to go until the chase, he's clinched a spot in this year's championship run. At number 5 in the standings, Edwards could climb higher after closing the gap with Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth. Both drivers had poor finishes at Bristol, and Tony Stewart took advantage, surging into second in points with a 4th place showing for the red-hot Tony Stewart. That is his 8th top 5 finish of the season, but with 2 races to go, all eyes are set on that 12th and final spot in the chase. Dale Earnhardt Jr. raced well Saturday, crossing the finish line 5th, but once again, Kurt Busch had another effective week, keeping his lead on Jr. He drove the Miller Lite Dodge to his 6th place finish and only surrendered 5 points in the standings to the number 8 car. The lead now sits at 158. And we bring in our own NASCAR expert, Pete Pistone. And Pete, Bristol's new track has its share of fans and critics. Did the new layout and surface help or hurt the racing there this weekend?
Well, Amber, I think it helped the racing at Bristol. I really do. I think that in the past, Bristol was kind of a single groove racetrack, a lot of follow the leader. The only way to move anybody and get a spot was to ram him out of the way, and I thought we saw side-by-side and multiple groove racing with the new surface. I know a lot of fans kind of miss the old beating and banging of Bristol, but I think the side-by-side racing is only going to get better as that track surface ages, so I think that was a great move to redo that racetrack.
All right, Pete, we are oh so close to the chase for the championship, and since it will be seeded based on wins in the regular season and bonus points earned, how will that affect strategy for Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, and other drivers at the top of the point standings?
Well, those guys don't have to worry about points. I mean, they're locked in the chase, so they can go out and just try to win races, and I think their strategies will be completely different. We've seen Jeff Gordon do that a couple of times in the last 3 weeks to do some things toward the end of the race where he knew that, if he wound up finishing outside the top 10, it was no big deal. They want to wind up in victory lane because, again, the chase will be seeded based on regular season wins and the bonus points that the drivers earn with those victories. So I think that group of guys are just going to go out and try to get to victory lane every week here for the next 2.
All right, Pete, it's Labor Day weekend. That used to mean a trip to Darlington, but these days it's a return to California Speedway for racing under the lights. Has that change in tradition affected NASCAR?
Well, I think in all the decisions that NASCAR has made in recent years, this was probably the worst one that they've done. Taking a tradition like the Southern 500, more than 50 years, really the race that NASCAR was built upon at Darlington Raceway on Labor Day weekend, and just kicking it to the curb and moving a Labor Day date to California Speedway. I mean, I know it's important to be in Los Angeles a couple of times a year because it is such a big market, but first of all, that racetrack doesn't really provide very exciting racing. The fans out there don't seem to care, and I think the NASCAR just made a big mistake with this, and I don't know if it'll ever get back to how it was, but there's really, in my mind, no reason not to be racing in Darlington on Labor Day weekend.
Okay, Pete, who can we look for Sunday night in Fontana?
Well, California's always been kind of a Ford track. It's a sister track to Michigan International Speedway. So I think you're going to see Matt Kenseth, who's won there before, do well. Carl Edwards, I think, will do well, as Greg Biffle. But, Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon are 2 California guys. They're going home. They don't have to worry about points. They just want to get to victory lane. So I think it's going to come down to the 48 and the 24, each trying to get their series-leading 5th victory this weekend out in California.
Okay, thanks as always, Pete. Of course, we look forward to hearing from you this weekend from California. Don't forget to come back next week when we take a look at Richmond. But for now, if you missed anything today on the BFGoodrich NASCAR Report, stop, refresh, and rewatch. For Pete Pistone, I'm Amber Wilson.